How's everybody doing? We're doing fine. Thank you for asking, Jive. All right, so my name is Jive, Poetic, and that's the whole intro. All right, there you go. Rolling ocean crashed between her toes. Sand built the coastline. She tight-roped yesterday to her back, with the Panamanian sun set in the most black of her mouth, full of clumsy English, rickety on her Spanish tongue, shuffling Caribbean accent marks inconspicuously. She blended in Jamaica, where Cuba gave her the sun. She spoke clumsy, too, in Canada. West Indian camouflaged her. Panama, invisible, mistress of the skies. Toggling West Indian syntax, translucent at the border. My grandmothers were dream catchers. Hopscotching countries, jumping identity double Dutch, watching greener shades of brown grass darken every time she landed behind the language barrier. She clutched yesterday's tongue under today's image, exercising her phonetics to flip acrobatic English easy for her. Foreign tongue was Spanish in Jamaica, Jamaican in Canada, Canadian in New York, reaching for citizenship, red taped out of range with immigration on her heels until her last breath evaporated above Los Angeles, as black as planned. Her maple leaf colored children sifted, accent free, obscured behind Panama. Jamaica was blindfolded, monolingual. My tongue now rolls as rickety as her English did 3 countries before, one cold shoulder ago. Latin America recognized me no more than Jamaica did, called me American boy. Under breath, over unbroken speech patterns, lost in translation, I felt invisible, while visibly in neither command of enough Spanish nor patois to correct the secrets hiding her inside me, undetectable even in death. She lives around the border of my eye, while I, tongues away from language, learn to speak in the New York of my tongue, 2 generations away, and I kid you not, listen, I'm in the dark of this dance hall. Multiple Spanish reggae tones mocking the star-spangled portion of my red, black, and green footwork, falling off of every drumbeat chuckled at me, this collage of a woman. Tildes between her locks and patois flowing from Latin roots when she smiled. She smiled me still. When she spoke me speechless and somehow made me homesick for a place I had never been. Thank you. Woo! All right. Give it up for grandmas. All right. Love them nanas. Okay. All right. I bet you that's not how you expected that poem to end, huh? All right, grandma's in hell. All right. So listen, I started thinking about that poem maybe around the early 2000s, and it's just been in my body for a long time. And I was trying to figure out how to talk about my family, how to talk about legacy and lineage and all of these things. I didn't know where to start. And then there was this picture that just kept popping up in my head. And it was of my 2 of my great-grandmothers. And as I told people about this picture, these 2 great-grandmothers, I realized I had so many friends who didn't have pictures of 2 great-grandmothers in the same picture at the same time. And so it really made me think about just this picture itself, right? And then what it means to my family. And I thought about the first time I saw this picture, and I remember I walked into my grandmother's room, right? And she was in there, and she was watching General Hospital, because, oh, some of you guys know what I'm talking about. She was watching General Hospital because she loves soap operas, man. Do not talk when her stories is on, because she does not play that. All right, so she's watching General Hospital. I think it was like, I think Frisco Jones was getting married to Felicia or something like that. Oh, I'm not making this up. This is real. Okay, he had the song, All I Need. I remember. The 80s was a complicated time. We didn't have cable, okay, forget about it. All right. So she was watching this, and also at the same time, she had on her bed all of these pictures, right? It was like more pictures than I have ever seen in my life, right? And she was sorting them out, and she was explaining to me who was who. And then there was this picture of my 2 great-grandmothers, right? And then there was this other picture of this man, and he had on like this tan suit, and the collar was open, and then it was like really hanging over. It was like prime, like 1970 something, you know what I mean? And I couldn't figure out who it was, and she wouldn't tell me. She didn't know, she didn't want to talk about it, but she changed the subject, right? And I'm like, well, man, who is this person in this picture? And I read it, and it said, mi prima Betty, right? And I know Betty was my grandfather's sister. That's my Aunt Betty. She appears a lot in my, throughout most of my work, Aunt Betty shows up somewhere. She's in my new book, Skip Tracer. She's in there. She's in stories I tell all the time, right? So I was like, okay, well, who is this mysterious man that my grandmother has a picture of and it's dressed to my Aunt Betty, right? So I have to figure this out. So what I was doing is like I just thought about it. I asked questions. I asked family members, and no one wanted to talk about it. And it just stayed with me for most of my life, right? And then when I started writing poetry, I started deciding to book myself in cities that had national archives where I can research, right? Because it's expensive to fly, man, I'm telling you. But if you can get booked, then boom, National Archives. I worked it out. All right. So I go from place to place and I research and I go to National Archives all over the world. And I can't find anything on this guy. I'm like looking at his name and I think it says Panama on it. So I'm looking at his name in Panama and I can't find it. And what I end up doing is going to DC. And I'm just now using their free Wi-Fi at this point because I'm frustrated. I can't find anything. And I say, well, let's just check out social media and see what they're talking about. And I find a post by this man in Panama. And he says, I'm here with my grandfather. And the names match. So I'm like, okay, this is it. Family unity or something. I don't know. And so I send him a message. And boom, he blocks me. He doesn't even respond. He doesn't even get back to me. He probably thought I was a scammer or something. I don't know. But I said, okay, well, listen, I think I might be onto something. So then I followed him to Instagram, and I realized after saying this out loud, it sounds like cyber stalking. So I'm mildly concerned. And if anybody's a therapist, you can talk to me, or I can talk to you, and we can work that out. All right. But I went to Instagram and I saw a picture of what looked like the same man, but he was much older. And he was having a conversation with someone else, another Instagram user. And I said, okay, whoever these people are, they love this man in this picture so much that they'll respond. All I have to do is go vague and public. Man, the more I say this out loud, it does seem internet stalkery, man. If you want to be an internet stalker, I could teach a workshop on it. I don't know how to monetize it, but we'll figure it out. All right, so what I did was I clicked like on one of the pictures and then just put in the caption, I know who this man is. Ooh, the plot thickens, right? And I said, okay, well, cool. Let me just sit and see what this does. And just like I thought, they were in my inbox immediately. Who are you? How do you know who this man is? And they were talking back and forth to me. And I explained that I think he fits into some research I've been doing. And I'm not sure how he's related to the story, but I'm certain that he is. And we talked for the entire day. Like literally like 24 hours, I'm on Instagram messages talking back and forth to these people. And I said, well, listen, do you think you can recognize this man if I sent you a picture of him younger? And I sent it to her. And she said, yes, this is my grandfather. And I was like, wow, okay, so tell me about him. She explains the story. It turns out her grandfather and my grandfather were first cousins. And I had been trying to find my family in Jamaica for so long. It turned out most of them had gone to work on the Panama Canal and didn't go back. And so I found this man in this picture, and I wrote to them, and I eventually went down and visited them, and I met them. And I was really thinking about, like, why wasn't this story given to me? And I realized my grandparents were immigrants in this country, and they were terrified. They were not going to talk about immigration. They were not going to talk about where they're from. Because, think about it. My grandfather would have been around the time, the missile crisis, and he's not going to share this information. So my mother, and then my youth was around Panama invasion. They're not going to share this information. But I was able to reunite the family through this process, and then I ultimately wrote a poem about it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share this poem because it's been on my heart since I was watching Frisco Jones with my grandmother, all right? And I'm going to do this for you. And after all of this, I was able to compile it into a book. So here we go. The photo album. A museum, we search for lives fallen out of touch on the gallery floor. An exhibit we trace against folklore. We think we know something about Jamaica, so we think we know something about this tableau. Pressed between the plastic and the context it falls from, it self-identifies Panama, and it is inscribed to Aunt Betty. Age paints over everything she's ever seen. She now sees for the first time. Every time she sees it again, the signature claims itself her cousin. I take its word for it. She takes mine but forgets. In Brazil, a woman loses her grandfather. She doesn't know that we found him because we are too far in the future. I researched the image in social media rabbit holes over the years and distance. We find again the man we could not place at a wedding with his granddaughter. I reach out through a picture. She sees me and reaches back Hey, thank you very much, everybody. Peace.